Thank you for the invitation, and I'm so honored to present this study with you, the greatest researchers. I'm going to present the effect of naringin on histological changes of hippocampus and behavior in the valproic acid-induced rats. This is Yasaman Mahdizadeh Darban from Babol University of Medical Science, Iran. And I started research since I admitted to university by publishing narrative and systematic reviews and translating books. And I'm working now as a research assistant of Babol Research Committee of Babol University of Medical Science. And I'm trying to apply for a master's degree. Let's go through the story behind this study. It goes back to 2 years ago, more or less, when I met a guy in Mashhad University of Medical Science because of neuroinflammation conference. And he was a ranked student of whole university with high potential, smart, and great personality. We were chatting for a while, but a day he told me that we couldn't be good friends together. It was surprising that he didn't have any friends, and although we were so good, I found him a little bit nervous when he wanted to get in touch with new people. And he told himself that he suffers from ASD, or autism spectrum disorder. So I found what made him isolated from people was not just depression or social anxiety, although even he actually suffers from this condition too. But he had ASD, and he had obsessive interest. I mean, people with ASD have obsessive interest, and they have impairments of communication, difficulties. For example, he rarely look into my eyes directly, and ASD is more common in male, 2 times more common in male, and it's the symptoms of ASD become clearly evident during early childhood between ages 12 and 24 months. So I really wanted to help him, and today I dedicate this presentation to my friend. I asked my professor, Dr. Qasemi Kasman, who works on neurodevelopmental disorders, and especially in hippocampus, and she suggested to work on natural compounds, which are so popular nowadays. And we found naringin. Naringin belongs to flavonoid, and it has anti-inflammatory and anti-apoptotic properties, and it exists in citrus and coffee. It's very surprising because we have multi-studies worked on naringin and cancer and other disorders, but there was no study that's worked on naringin and ASD. So let's go through our methods. We used 12 Wistar rats, female Wistar rats, and all rats were kept in standard conditions. And in first cycle phase, we allowed male and female to mate overnight, and the morning after that, the pregnancy was considered by observing the vaginal plot, and the noon of that day was defined as the middle of first day of our study. So 8 rats were exposed by VPA, or valproic acid, which leads to cognitive impairments, learning and memory difficulties, just like autism spectrum disorder. And we used 600 milligram per kg of this, and we administered intraperitoneal injection on embryonic day, middle of embryonic day 12. And in control group, we had saline in the same volume. And rats offsprings were litterd, offsprings of VPA exposed rats leathered and randomly divided into 3 groups. First, we have sham, and we use carboxymetal cellulose and those and CMC and we use naringin and at different doses, one 80 milligram per kg and the next 160 milligram per kg. And we use CMC again for control group of saline exposed cats. And also, infants received orally CMC or naringin for 28 days, once a day, daily basis. So, and 8 rats randomly selected from each groups to behavioral tests. And you can see that's the shape of the tail of autistic rats. In here, we have a picture of leathering our rats. And we used behavioral tests. First test we performed the 3-chamber social assay. This test has 2 phases, and each phase takes 10 minutes. And it has 3 sites areas. In first phase, we have an empty space, and we have a site near stranger. We have actually rat, unfamiliar rat, placed in a wire cup, and experimental rats can freely run over the areas. We define sociability index as a proportional time spending near stranger one over time spending into empty space. It actually shows interactions, social interactions of rats. You can see here, for example, autistic rats have this propensity to spend more time in empty space rather than the near stranger. In next phase, we have the previous stranger that is now familiar. We call it again stranger 1, and we have the stranger 2, which is unfamiliar, and empty space, so 3 areas. And we defined a social preference index as the differences between time spent in near stranger 2 and stranger 1 over 600 seconds. That's all the time we had. So the other behavioral test was Morse water maze. It has 4 days of trial. In each session, we actually use rats to swimming in the container full of water, and we use platform 1.5 centimeter under the hidden under the water, and rats trying to find and swim through the container to find the platform. And some parameters like latency, distance, and speed were evaluated for this test, and it actually shows the learning and memory potentials of rats. And in the last day, we have a trial. In this trial, we removed the platform, and rats trying to swim and into the area of a quadrant of the previous platform that was placed. And remaining rats were performed for histological tests. They were sacrificed, exercised, and sacrificed, and their brain were dissected in 6 for Nissl staining and hematoxylinase staining. Data were actually statistically analyzed by CSS version 2022, and GraphPath Prism and ImageJ also were used for counting the number of damaged neurons, as well as we used in GraphPath Prism for our charts. So for results, you can see the results of phase 1 3-chamber social assay. Here, we can see in all groups, excluding BPI exposed rats, we have the significant difference between time expanding near stranger 1 rather than empty space. So it shows that naringin surprisingly helps the to improve social interaction. And here in phase 2, you can see that how naringin affects again our treatment groups showed better results. And you can see the similarity between naringin at dose 160 milligram per kg and the control group. So, for example, other results shows that we have significant differences between VPA exposed rats and naringin at dose 160 in control group and time spent in Neurostranger 2. So it shows that naringin help to improve the social interactions by increasing time spent in near Stranger 2. Here we have a sociability index that again naringin helped to improve sociability index, and for social preference index again we see that naringin at dose 160 acted actually the rats of that group acted approximately like control group. In Morris Water maze results, we can see that in day 2 we have again the better effects of treatment groups. And here we can see in all days, excluding day 1, naringin at dose 80 milligram per kg showed beneficial effects of reducing escape latency. And naringin at dose 160 had these results for day 3 and day 4. And also, it's again the rats who were exposed with VPA and naringin 160 again acted like control group, so it's really helped. And here we can see in day 4 that naringin reduced distance of finding the platform in both doses. In velocity, we can see no significance, which is good because it shows that our test was standard because rats didn't have stress or anxiety to find the platform, so we didn't see any significance here. And time spent in target quadrant, again, naringin helped to improve the time spent in target quadrant. So it shows that naringin helped to improve the learning and memory. So here are the results of staining immunohistochemistry. We can see the regularity of cell arrangements in control group, saline and CMC. And in VPA group, you can see the boldness of nuclei. And also in treatment group, this irregularity decreased a lot, and especially at dose 160 milligram per kg of naringin. So here we can see that the number of cell deaths reduced in treatment groups, especially again at high dose, we saw the better results. And in CA3, that was a result of CA1 of the hippocampus. Actually, because hippocampus is responsible for learning and memory, social interactions, we've worked on hippocampus, and we can see, obviously, the result of the tests, behavioral tests, and the immunohistochemistry of hippocampus. Here we have again the same results of CA3. We can see that naringin at dose 160 even worked better than control group. We can see the results of picture here that vacuolation happened in VPA group of CA3 hippocampus. And here we can see the shape and irregular management of hippocampus of naringin 160 exposed rats. So and the boldness nuclei were decreased so much in this group. Here again, another results, the same results of dental gyrus we can see here. And again, the damaged cell, the number of damaged cells were decreased a lot. And here we have the results of hematoxin and eosin staining. So tissue sections performed from the hippocampus of the studied groups with the HNE staining illustrate the differences between in the shape and placement of the neurons in CA1 and CA3 and dental gyrus of the VPA exposed rat. So in control group, you can see cells were observed in on a regular manner, and these changes of shape and organization of organizing the neurons were reduced in treatment groups. So naringin seems to be effective in reducing neural damage. You can see the vacuolation here in this organization. And this is the HNE results. In conclusion, finally, our study proves that naringin efficiently attenuated social interaction, learning, and memory impairments in VPA-exposed rats. Also, it showed better effect at dose of 160 milligram per kg. So I think that it may affect on the hippocampus and then directly affect on behavioral tests. But that was something I have thought about it. If we imagine that 1 liter of grapefruit juice has 400 milligram of naringin, so a man with 70 kilogram would consume 28 liters of grapefruit juice in a day to improve the behavioral and symptoms of ASD. It's impossible to use this volume of juice in a day. I think that it may be good to use naringin at the standard dose for actually vitamins. We can have some vitamins specifically for autistic patients, or I don't know, maybe in other medications maybe. And I suggest for future studies to find the best dose of naringin, as we tested just 2 different doses. Maybe it works better on higher dose, we don't know. And or using naringin in studies on a wide range of neurodevelopmental disorders. For example, we can use it on maybe depression or other disorders that hippocampus actually involves. And they can work on toxicity of naringin in different doses, because we didn't have this in our study. And they can evaluate the effect of naringin in comparison with males and females, because we mentioned that ASD is different in male and female, so we can consider that, as we have just male infants in this study. Thank you so much for your attention, and thanks to the Scientex conference for actually have this opportunity. If you have questions, I'm here for you.